How many wide receivers are going to play a lot for Ohio State in 2022? We asked them. We asked their coach, Brian Hartline. I'm Nathan Baird from cleveland.com, along with Stephen Means and Doug Lesmerises. It was wide receiver interviews today and special teams. But a lot of questions about what exactly are, especially, I guess, Emeka Egbuka and Julian Fleming. How do they fit into this? We know Jackson Smith-Njigba's locked in. We think Marvin Harrison Jr. more or less is locked in. So is it a competition for one spot? Is it a three-man rotation through two spots? Doug, what was kind of the vibe that you got from how Brian Hartline sees this working out?
So Brian Hartline said, I have like 6 receivers that are ready to play. And he just said that, and then like everybody was asking other questions, and I was shouting like, who are the 6? Can you, like, hey everybody, let's stop asking your featurey questions and gather the news, which is something we do at times here. In the Ohio State beat, you gather news. So finally, someone asked, and 6. So the 6 are, I mean, maybe guess them, but you got to ask them. Jackson Smith-Njigba, Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, Julian Fleming, Jaden Ballard, and Xavier Johnson, who's everybody's favorite walk-on. He's like the C.J. Saunders of this era, right? He said Cam Babb would be in that group if Cam Babb was healthy. He's not healthy. So those are the 6, and he said we're going to rotate more than last year. Now, that doesn't mean a 6-man rotation, but I thought that's a coach defining like who's ready to play, which is a way that Ryan Day defines stuff a lot. And I think we just got an indication that they will rotate more than last year, which is when you had 3 guys who basically didn't come off the field. Makes sense. But also in the news gathering that we do here, it was good to hear the coach say that. So it helped a little bit, I thought, trying to get a feel for that.
It's really been since 2019 that you've seen any kind of rotation in that receiver group. I mean, in 2020, it was Olave and Wilson and a little bit of Jamison Williams, but mostly those top 2 guys eating a lot of targets. Last year, like Doug said, 3 guys. What we're hearing now makes sense, right? Especially if you're talking about those top 4. The Jackson Smith-Njigba is like just pinned to the field in the slot or wherever they're lining him up, and then those other 3 guys are on the field in some combination.
Yeah, it's what does the phrase "we're going to rotate more" mean? Is it Jackson does what he does and the other 3 are rotating to 2 spots? Is it Marvin Harrison also doesn't come off the field, and then Julian and Emeka are rotating at Z? Is Emeka everybody's backup, and so he just kind of floats in and out and everywhere, and depending on where you want to put Jackson on a particular play? That's the thing that we're not going to find out to the Notre Dame game, because yes, it's cool what Xavier Johnson has been able to do as a walk-on, and if Cam Babb is healthy, everybody calls him the greatest wide receiver in the world here, and he did say that Jaden Ballard is maybe ahead of where he thought he would be at this point, so those are cool things, but this is really a conversation about those top 4, Jackson, Marvin, Emeka, and Julian, and if they are going to rotate more, is it just because instead of having 3 guys like they had last year, or 2 guys they had in 2020, they've got 4 guys, and how does that actually work on game day, and what does the snap counts look like when we're reviewing the game on a Sunday or a Monday?
That's literally the thing I was going to say as soon as I took the mic away from you was, what do those snap counts look like against Notre Dame? And especially as it relates, I think, to Fleming and Egbuka. We've heard really positive things all offseason, really, about both of those guys. How big is their role? I think the snap count is going to tell us a lot more than what a coach tells us.
So we're just saying that, like, the snap counts matter. Are we going to make some snap count predictions?
Do it.
So I would say I think Jackson plays basically the whole game. I think maybe in the end, Marvin, Emeka, and Julian are all maybe more equal than maybe we would have thought. And I do think there might be a Jaden Ballard sprinkle. Because you're right, Stephen. Brian Hartline made that point. Jaden Ballard, he said, is at a point right now that he thought Ballard wouldn't get to until the end of the year. So if it's 70 offensive snaps, maybe it's 70 for JSN. And then, that's 140 snaps. Maybe it's 45. Now we're going to start doing math live on the air. But you know what I mean? Like 45 for the other guys? I don't know. I just think... I think Emeka and Julian are both going to have important roles. So I think that it's something like that. I'm not taking anything away from Marvin, but that was the one thing I took away from this. That, like, I think Julian and Emeka will play more than just splitting one spot. Is that what we think, or because we've sort of been talking like maybe that's what it would be. Yes, the point of maybe Emeka's everybody's backup is something you said before, Stephen. I think we have talked about that. But I think maybe like rotating more, what does that mean? I think that's what it means. 4 guys really playing a lot.
I think it could be more like 55, 45, 40, something more like that. I don't know that I would think it would be quite as evenly distributed. I still think that there are some things that Marvin Harrison Jr. gives you in certain situations that those other 2 guys can't, that you might want his height, his body, his whatever on the field. Not to get too much into that, as we talked before, but I would still maybe see it like that. But hearing things like today does make me condense it a little bit more, because I might have thought before that it was just an even split at that other spot, and now that doesn't sound like maybe what we'll see on Friday.
I kind of agree with where you guys are coming from. I think the snap count might make it seem like it was just Julian and Emeka like rotating at one spot, but when you're actually watching the game, it doesn't look like that. But I do agree, Jackson's not coming off the field unless he needs a breather. But I do think there's like another level below that is where Marvin might live, just based off. I mean, they had their opportunity, and I understand it was the Rose Bowl and it wasn't. They hadn't had a full off season, but they had their opportunity, and Marvin didn't come off the field either. So I think it's Jackson, Marvin, because those are first of all the two receivers who are on the field whenever they go 12 personnel, and then like to a lesser extent, it's where Julian and Emeka live. So I think it's just three levels where two guys live on that bottom level, and then it's Marvin on a level, and then Jackson on a level. And then I do agree. I think there is some type of sprinkle for Jaden Ballard just because he has a skill set that those other guys don't bring up. Just Brian Hartline kind of alluded to it. Like, they don't have a lot of 4-3 guys the way they had with Garrett and Chris, but they've got size that's a matchup problem. And I think he's talking specifically about Marvin Harrison and Julian Fleming and Emeka Egbuka in that situation, because those are physically just bigger guys in different ways.
And Ballard said that he mostly played Z last year, has added more X to it this year. That's the two different outside receiver spots, so that may be one thing that helps him get on the field. We're going to talk about this more on Buckeye Talk. Get it wherever you can find podcasts, and get the text 614-350-3315. 2-week free trial will take you right through the season opener at this point with Buckeye Talk.